This video will run you through the linear relations and equations test solutions. Okay. First off, with our multiple choice section, we had 10 marks here and all 10 questions needed to be answered correctly in order to gain the 10 marks. When it comes to multiple choice questions, it's very important that we never leave a multiple choice question blank. You have a 1 in 5 chance of getting it correct, even if it does happen to be a guess. So to start off with question 1, if x plus 9 equals 21, then x is equal to. Okay, we can see that x has 9 added to it. So in order to reverse this, we need to use our inverse operations to solve for x. So we need to subtract 9 from both sides. When we subtract 9 from 21, we get that x is equal to 12. Therefore, option B. Question 2. The solution to the equation 7b equals 35 is, when it's asking for the solution to the equation, it's asking you to solve for that unknown value, which in this case is b. So in order for us to solve for b, we can see that 7 is multiplied by b. Using our inverse operations, we know that we need to divide both sides by 7. 35 divided by 7 gives us 5. Therefore, our option E is our correct answer. Question 3. If A over 11 equals 42, then A equals. Again, we're trying to solve for that value A. A has been divided by 11. An inverse operation of dividing is to multiply. Therefore, we need to multiply both sides by 11. So both sides of the equation by 11. When we do that, we get 42 times 11, which will give us our A, which equals 462. Option B. Question 4. This question was a bit tricky because it's not necessarily one that we have solved in class. However, there is nothing stopping us from doing this one with the knowledge that we have obtained. We also know that we can use the solve function on our CAS calculators in order to solve for this x value. Okay, so what we can do is put all of this into our solve function on our calculator, which I'll show you how to do in a moment, and solve for x. Okay, so on our CAS calculators, we need to go menu, algebra, solve, okay, and type in our equation. So 6 divided by x plus 1 minus 8 over x is equal to 4 divided by x. All of that is solving for x, so we need to put comma x. And this solve tells us that x is equal to negative 2. So that's option B. Question 5. The sum of solutions of the pair of simultaneous equations y plus x equals 12 and 2y minus x equals 6. Okay, we've got to find the sum of solutions of the pair. This is the tricky part here. It says the sum of the solutions. When we say the word sum, we're thinking plus. We're thinking we are adding. Okay. If we've got to solve simultaneous equations, we know that we only do this on our calculator. So again, menu, algebra, solve system of equations, and we're solving a system of linear equations. We want 2 equations, the variables to be x and y, so we press OK on that. We then need to enter our 2 equations into the linsolve function. So we had y plus x equals 12 and 2 times y minus x equals 6. Okay. When you get to this point here, we know that we don't have to put our equation in the form y equals mx plus c, so we can leave it in this form here, which is a lot easier for us. Okay, press enter on that, and that will give us our solutions. So our solutions are given to us as a coordinates, 6, 6. It's asking you for the sum of the solutions. So we're looking for the x value plus the y value, which equals 12. Therefore, C is our correct response. Question 6. The solution of 3x squared equals 21, correct to 2 decimal places, is. We've got to think, we're trying to get x on its own. This time we need to do 2 steps in order to get this x on its own. We've got to divide both sides by 3, giving us x squared is equal to 7. 21 divided by 3 gives us 7. And then we need to take the square root of both sides. So if we take the square root of both sides, we've got to remember that we're taking the positive or negative when you take the square root. So the positive or negative square root of 7, which on our calculators is equal to 2.65, and it's the positive or negative, so option C. Question 7. The expression 7x plus 2y equals 91 can be arranged for y as. If we're trying to arrange for y, we're trying to get it in the form y equals. So what we need to look at is what we've got here. We've got 7x plus 2y equals 91. We want to get the y on its own. So if we subtract 7x from both sides, and then divide both sides by 2, this will give us our equation in the form y equals. Option D. Question 8. Given v equals u plus a times t and v equals 12.0, when u equals 9.7 and a equals 2.8, find the value of t correct to 2 decimal places. Okay, in order for us to do that, we need to write out our equation, v equals u plus a times t, and fill in our values that we do know. Our v is 12.0, so we'll write that in. Our u is 9.7, plus a, which is 2.8, and we don't know the value of t for yet. Now that we've gotten to this point, what we need to do is solve for that value t. From this point, you are very much able to use the solve function on your calculator or to calculate by hand. Okay, I'll use the solve function again for this one to make sure that we're getting practice. So menu, algebra, solve, and if I'm putting in the equation 12 equals 9.7 plus 2.8 times t. Now remember, I can use another variable, t, but when I am trying to solve for t, I have to actually put comma t to say that I'm trying to solve for the variable t. If we press enter on that, our calculator gives us the answer 0.821429, and it says correct to 2 decimal places, so we need to look. The number after the second is less than 5, so we're going to be rounding down, which gives us option E, 0.82. Okay, question 9. The solution to the simultaneous equations y equals 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 4y equals 8 is. So what we need to do is plug those both into our calculator using their linear solve function. Again, you don't need to have them in the form y equals, so you can leave our second equation as it is. And your answer on your calculator will give you negative 10 over 3, negative 11 over 3. So that means that x is equal to negative 10 over 3 and y is equal to negative 11 over 3. which is for us option D. Question 10. The point of intersection of the lines shown in the diagram below is. So what we need to look at is, well, what is the point of intersection firstly? We know that the point of intersection is where the two graphs actually cross each other. So right in this middle bit here. Okay, that's where the two graphs intersect. For us to find what that coordinate is, we need to look at what is our x value. So we're -1, -2. Our x value is going to be -2. We're going 2 units in the negative direction on that x-axis. And on the y-axis, we're going up 1 unit. So our point should be -2, 1. And we find that there as option B. Moving on to the short answer section. Question 1 says, solve the following linear equations for x correct to 2 decimal places. If we look at question A, we've got 23 plus 7x equals -30. We need to subtract 23 from both sides. So 7x equals -30 minus 23, which will give us 7x equals -53. A common error made by students was not taking note of the negatives and simply adding 23. That was a common error that occurred. Then we need to divide both sides by 7, which is -53 divided by 7, okay? Or as a decimal, because it does ask for 2 decimal places, x is equal to -7.57. Again, a common error with this question was forgetting about this negative value right here and then not putting our negative in our final answer. You need to be really careful with your negatives and positives. It does change the answer and you will not get the full marking if you are not careful and don't carry the negative right through. Part B, we have 5 times x plus 10 equals 2 times 3x minus 4. Our first step is to actually expand these brackets. 1 mark was awarded for getting this first stage, recognising that we need to expand the brackets. So we're going to have 5 times x plus 5 times 10 equals 2 times 3x, 2 times -4. From this, we've got an x on the left-hand side of the equation and an x on the right-hand side of the equation. In order for us to solve for x, we only want x on one side of the equation. So we're going to rearrange this equation, subtract this 6x from both sides, and we're going to subtract the 50 from both sides as well. Okay, so if we subtract 5x minus 6x is equal to -8 minus 50, we're going to have -x is equal to -58. We can see here that we're trying to solve for x. At the moment, we've got -x. We know what -x equals, but we need to solve for +x. We know that there really is a coefficient of 1 in front of x, so if we divide both sides by -1, we will have x on our left-hand side and +58 on our right-hand side of the equation. Again, a common error with this one was not following through with the negatives. Part C. -5x over 8 equals 7. Okay, if we've got -5x over 8, we need to multiply both sides of the equation by 8. So -5x equals 56. And then divide both sides by that -5. Again, the question says to 2 decimal places, so we need to convert that to decimal, giving us -11.20. You needed to show the working out in order to get the full marks for these questions. Each section in question 1 was worth 2 marks, 1 for the appropriate working and 1 for the correct answer. Question 2. Find the point of intersection for the pair of simultaneous equations, 3x plus 2y equals 9, and negative 6y equals negative 2x plus 7. We need to use our linear solve function on our calculator for this. So again, the steps for you are menu, algebra, solve system of equations. Solve system of linear equations, we want to have two equations and the variables x and y. When our linear solve function opens up, we put our first equation in our first box, so 3 times x plus 2 times y equals 9, and negative 6y equals negative 2 times x plus 7. Okay, pressing enter on that will give us our two solutions. So we've got 34 over 11 and negative 3 over 22. We also accepted the decimal form for this. So for a number of students, if the settings for the calculator were in the approximate, you would have received the points 3.09 and negative 0.14. And both were correct. Question 3. Question 3 was meant to be a bit challenging, but a good number of students gave this question a really good shot. So it says, write each of the following as statements as a mathematical equation. Part A, the sum of twice a number and 6 is 16. So we should be thinking twice a number and 6 is 16. We don't know what that number is. So that number is going to form our unknown. So we can use x, the pronumeral x, to be our unknown number. The sum of twice a number, when we think sum, we're thinking add. Twice a number, we're going to have 2 times our number, and 6. So the sum of twice a number and 6 is 16. Forms our equation 2x plus 6 equals 16. We've got twice a number, so 2 times a number, which we're defining as x, plus for sum plus 6 equals 16. Part B, the area A of a circle is the product of pi and the radius squared. This one was a bit more challenging. However, a number of us worked out that this was the formula for the area of a circle and did actually know that rule and were able to write that down. So the area is equal to pi times the radius squared. Our area is given to us as A. We want to have that in terms of A is the product, and product means to multiply. So it's the product of pi and the radius r, which has been squared. So it's the product of pi and the radius squared. Gives us A equals pi times r squared. Question 4. The cost of lending a small car from a hire car company is calculated using the formula C equals 60 plus 50D, where C is the total cost and D represents the number of days the car is hired for. Complete the table of values showing the cost of hiring a car for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 days. For us to do this, all we really needed to do was plug this into our calculator. Using the rule, the cost is equal to 60 plus 50 times the number of days. The days is our first row, so if we wanted to find out for 5 days, we would let D equal 5. Plug that into our calculator, get a value of 310. That's saying that for 5 days of hiring the car, it will cost us $310. Okay? Following that same procedure for each square that we need to fill out in the table, we will get the following values. This question was worth 2 marks. 1 mark was awarded for getting half, and the other mark was awarded for getting another half. Okay. Question 5. Question 5 says, a shop sells bread rolls. If 3 brown rolls and 5 multigrain rolls cost $4.60 and 6 brown rolls and 5 multigrain rolls cost $5.95. Find the cost of each type of roll. Okay, so we need to define our variables. First, I'm going to let brown rolls equal B and multigrain equal M. That tells me that I'm going to be using B and M to describe the different types of rolls when I write my equations. So we've got to form 2 equations here. We've got 3 brown rolls, so 3B, and 5 multigrain rolls, so plus 5M, costs $4.60. So that equals $4.60 for 3 brown rolls and 5 multigrain rolls. That there forms our first equation. Our second equation comes from the second bit of information. That's 6 brown rolls and 5 multigrain rolls cost $5.95. That forms our second equation. 6 brown rolls plus 5 multigrain equals $5.95. We need to find the cost of each type of roll. For us to do that, we can use solve function in our calculator once again. I have shown you how to do that a couple of times, so I won't do that again for us. When we use the linear solve function, okay, we will find that B is 0.45 and M is equal to 0.65. However, it's asking us to find the cost of each type of roll. And writing 0.45 is not giving me a cost, so we need to actually write that in terms of our dollars and cents. So we'll write a concluding sentence that brown rolls equal 45 cents and multigrain equals 65 cents. Okay, you need to have that sentence where you've concluded what the question is actually asking you in terms of the variables that we're using, dollars and cents, in order to get the full marks. So 1 mark was awarded for the correct equations, the second mark was awarded for a correct process, and the third mark was awarded for the correct response. Okay, question 6. Question 6 says the perimeter of a rectangular swimming pool is 26 metres. The length is 3 metres longer than the width, as shown in the diagram. Part A, write an expression for the perimeter P of the rectangle. One common error found when marking these was you've really got to read the question carefully. If the question says write an expression for the perimeter P of the rectangle, that means we want an equation for P equals. A large number of students went too far and started filling in the value 26 for our perimeter, but it's asking us to write an expression for the perimeter P. So that means we want a general rule that states the perimeter of this rectangle. We know that the perimeter is calculated by adding all of the lengths together. So our perimeter is going to be this length plus this length plus this length plus this length. Okay, we can simplify this a lot further. We add up all our x's, 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got 4x, and 3 plus 3 gives us 6. So our perimeter, our general rule, perimeter is equal to 4 times x plus 6. And that's all you needed to write for that one. A common answer that was given, as I stated before, was to say 26 equals 4x plus 6. Okay, but we weren't after that. We were after an expression for the perimeter P. That means in terms of P. Part B says find the value of x. This is where you're going to be using this approach here. So to find the value of x, at the moment we have 2 unknowns. We don't know what P equals and we don't know what x equals. Since we know this information up here that the perimeter is 26 metres, we can replace our perimeter in our equation with 26, and that equals 4x plus 6. This will then allow us to solve for x and determine that value of x. So we subtract 6 from both sides of the equation. So we've got 20 equals 4x, and then divide both sides by 4. So I'll move over here. 20 divided by 4 equals x, so therefore x is equal to 5. So the value of x is 5, and that's in metres. Part C says, find the length of the side of the rectangle. Okay, we've got this information up here that this length is x and this length is x plus 3. We've now found that x equals 5. So our lengths are equal to x plus 3. So therefore we're going to have 5 plus 3, which equals 8 as our length. And that is in metres. Okay, you only needed to show that length there. We know that x is 5 metres, so our lengths are going to be 8 metres, lengths are 8 metres and 5 metres. Yeah, but you needed to show this calculation here that you knew the length was x plus 3, and since x was 5, the length's 8 metres and the other length is 5 metres. Okay, and that gave you the full marks for that one.